Hey there folks, this is Lucifer Lake Gordon coming back at you with another video. Okay, so this is going to be the start of what I'm hoping is a little bit of a different type of video. But before that, I'm going to give a quick update. In a couple of days, I'm going to be going into some oral surgery. It's only minor stuff. I'm not even being put to sleep. I'm just being numbed up. But, I'm going to be going into it in a few days, and I've been under the knife before, just not while I'm awake, and so I'm a little bit nervous about that. So for any of my buddies and friends out there who want to send me some good wishes and whatnot, or who have been sending them to me on beforehand, thank you guys. And if you want to send me some well wishes, let me know down in the comments down below. Speaking of the comments down below, this video is answering a question that I was asked, and a little bit about me is I like to watch this one guy on YouTube who talks about yachts. I don't own a yacht, I don't own a super yacht, I don't live the lifestyle of an employee on a yacht or whatnot. It's an interesting subject for me to know about. And his style, he has a format of video where people shoot him questions, and he goes through a list of 3 or 4 questions, and he answers them. And I got a question the other day, actually earlier today, but YouTube deleted this question for some reason. I don't know why. There was really nothing wrong with it. So I'm going to go ahead and make a video responding to Alex Jackson, who asked me this question. I got alerted to the question in my feed, but when I went to go click on it, it was gone. It wasn't on the video that he had asked it in, or any of that other stuff, and I'm assuming that YouTube struck it down for some reason, which I don't know why. There's nothing inappropriate with it. There was a lot more inappropriate questions in the video. It was my succubus video. So Alan Jackson asked me, knowing these things you do about demonic entities, do you know the destination of the path you are on? Well, first off, that is a very baited question, but it's a good question, actually. It is something that we have to assume gets asked in a way a lot by Christians. They ask you, well, do you know where you're going to go? You're going to go to hell, you're going to roast, you're going to burn, and all this other stuff. You're going to suffer for all eternity. The thing of the matter is, yes, I do know where I'm going to go. I know where I want to go. And in the STS, the Satanic Society, we actually do have a lore about the afterlife. We actually have our own lore and legacy of hell handed to us partially by Michael Aquino, partially by other Satanists, and partially completely in-house created. The way that we look at the afterlife and everything, and the way that we generally look at Satan and all that, is that he is real. He is a very real undercurrent of energy. But our thoughts, our feelings, our stories, and our legends about him help shape him, give him form and whatnot. And our belief in him gives him power over our lives. Now, in this in the end means that we, in the end, have the ultimate say-so of, whether we are the creators or the destroyers. If enough people get together and they say, hey, I don't want to follow this God anymore, he's not a good God or anything, then we can cast them out into the outer darkness. It's happened so many times throughout history, it's going to happen again. It already is happening with the Christian God. A lot of people are really fed up with him here in the United States. He's heavily worshipped in other countries still, but here stateside, the influence is waning. And I'm saying that coming from the heart of the Bible Belt. So, do I know where I'm going to go? Yes, I do. Just like how we look at Satan and God, we look at hell the same way. It is an actual place. It is a real thing. It's just our stories, our legends, our beliefs about it help shape it for what it is. So when our energy, our consciousness, our soul, if you will, leaves our body, and this is something that can be read tangibly as a person is dying using science, that there is an energy that is released from that body. And there's even video evidence of it happening, that there is something more going on here than what science fully understands, and it's an energy-wise. Remember, energy can neither be created nor destroyed, it just changes form. And the soul, the consciousness of a human being, is exactly that. It is energy stored in our brains, which operate like a computer, our nervous system. Literally, human beings are living computers. So we have this consciousness, and when it dies, that energy that creates that consciousness, those bytes, that data, that raw data that is pure energy, it doesn't just disappear, it doesn't go away, it's not destroyed, it leaves the body, and it is measured that this does happen, and it is aware. Now, I am a person who has had a near-death experience in the past when I was a youth. It is the event that sent me on this lifestyle, that sent me on the lifestyle of learning and studying about religion and spirituality and what I actually believed. And as the years have progressed, well, we know where I've ended up, and yes, we do know where we are going. We do have an understanding of the afterlife. Is the afterlife going to be same for everybody? No, not generally. Generally, there are many different afterlives, from the Christian heaven to the Christian hell to the Satanic hell, which is where most Satanists actually go. The irony is that it also coincides with the Greek underworld and many other things too. So we look throughout history and we can derive bits and pieces of the afterlife from history, and we can parallel them too. And it's pretty surprising. What I find very interesting is we don't have very many descriptions of heaven. We have descriptions of Elysium, of the Elysian Fields, of the Asphodel Fields, and a number of other places. We have the notion that there is this paradise, and in Christianity and most Christian traditions, they call that paradise heaven. But we also know that there is a darker area, someplace else, that is generally, in the Christian terminology, referred to as hell. Now, for Satanists, we refer to hell in a vastly different term than what most people understand it. And we take and we do adopt the Christian definitions and terms, but we use them in a context that is much more different. Hell is a sub-universe, I guess you could say, the void, the pit, as it is described, that the deities, the fallen angels, the rebel angels who revolted against a very specific god, fell for 9 days into it. This is part of the lore. This is a very big part of multiple different lores of different countries and traditions and religious backgrounds. They all say that there is something there that takes 9 days to reach the bottom of it. It's this strange underworld. And when you look to Greek lore, they have a term for where they send their bad people, the worst of the worst, and it's Tartarus. And Tartarus was the ancient Greek version of hell, but it also shows up in the Roman versions of the afterlife, of the underworld. And it shows up once again in the Christian definitions. And every time we hear Tartarus as referenced, we also have heard of similar places in Mesopotamia, Babylonian cultures, going all the way to China, Japan, and the Asian cultures, India. All these cultures reference a very similar place that there is this underworld, and part of it is good, part of it is not so good. And in Satanism, we have what is called the circles of hell, which is taken from Dante's Inferno. We also take some from John Milton's Paradise Lost, and we amalgamize them to create our own version, but we take a lot from his history as well. And Tartarus is one of those places. Tartarus, even in the Satanic afterlife, is a place to be feared. This is the deepest, darkest pit, the absolute worst of the worst. And I describe it in what I think is probably the best detail that anybody really truly has ever grasped in our modern time. And I describe it in my book, The Satanic Testament, that Tartarus is this deep, dark pit. From above, you can see the Phlegethon, the lake of fire, where the river of fire, the Phlegethon, leads into. All the different rivers of the underworld converge in this area, and the lake of fire is at the very heart of Tartarus, and from it comes this black spiraling plume of smoke, which we describe as the black spiral, or the prison of the black spiral, where down around the very edge of it is the malbolge, or the ditches, which is to dance the black spiral down into the pit. This represents madness and whatnot. You can either dance your way upwards out of madness, or dance your way down deeper into madness. And the very base bottom is just this black gate. It's just silent. No noise, no nothing. Generally, just looking around, it's black. I mean, it's as black as these walls, and it's a void. And when the gates open up, it's just darkness. It's something beyond understanding and beyond comprehension. And this is the darkest part of hell for us. This is the one place that you go, you're not getting out. It's done. It's the bottom line. Only the worst of the very worst go here. Creatures that are said to be in there are the Titans, are some of the worst criminals in history, some of the worst, most evil individuals in history, and this is the ultimate prison of hell. Going up the sides of the pit, you come into wildernesses and into the base of the underside of what would be the city of Dis. Now here you can see upwards into it, and you can find floating there the palace of Pandemonium. The palace of Pandemonium sits on the black spiral. It floats above it on the heat thermal vents, and it is the seat of Satan. That is the capital city. And again, this is described in my book, in the book of the Hellscape. And I'm going in reverse here, mind you. This is some of the deeper sections of hell. So you have Pandemonium, which is the capital of hell. This is the seat of power for Satan, the Stygian Council, and whatnot. And then rising up above that, you have, of course, the city of Dis. Now, the city of Dis is a paradise city. It's not a place of torture or whatnot that was mentioned in Dante's Inferno. This is actually a city that kind of, in our description, encompasses or encapsulate the pit, and you can cross over it. There's streets, there's roads. There's the Pluton, or a newer Pluton, which is where Hades rules. Hades being the Greek god of the underworld. And he sits there, he rules, he understands things, and you can go sit and listen to him take court. But you can also visit friends, families, loved ones who have made it there and whatnot. And going above that, you have wildernesses. Again, there's different purposes for all these areas. You have almost 3 different levels of different wildernesses that people just get into. You also do have, going back to some of the lower areas, you do have the forest of the people who hurt themselves, suicides, the suicide forest. some of these areas actually do translate over into parts of the real world. So the suicide forest there does have a real world place over in Japan. It's pretty ironic because the Japanese suicide forest it's at the base of Mount Fuji. It has been actively, people have been going there to commit suicide for time immemorial, and in some of the earliest strips of Dante's Inferno, some of his private journals, he mentions that some of these places in hell do translate to places here on Earth, and he mentions that there is indeed forests where people go to commit suicide, and that's what gave him this idea where suicides get turned into trees, where they're attacked by harpies and ripped apart. So the premise of the suicide forest is one of the few things that is actually a really good premise that Dante came up with. Are very similar, because suicides is really never the answer, except for in certain circumstances. I mean, if a person's suffering, they're ill, and they don't want to be suffering anymore, it is viable in a way of mercy. And there's other reasons too. But going back up, you got different paths, you got different levels in hell, going up to the second level, the Cupido, which is one of people's favorite ones. This is the level of lust. Everybody knows that there's a big storm that's rolling around here, and in the Satanic version, people are not just wandering or being flung about in the storm. There is actually shelter there. And again, floating in the center of the Cupido is the Carnal Tower, where the four queens of hell have their seats of power, and they hold court, and that, again, this is all described in my book. And going up to Limbo, or the Astronaut Fields, there is actually reasons behind these names too. It's like the term Cupido for the second level literally means lust, means carnal desire and whatnot. It's also the name of Cupid. Ironically, my dog. I actually have a dog named Cupid. He's a cutie. But it's also the name of Aphrodite's son, Cupid, the Roman god of love. So there's a lot of interesting stuff there. But going up to the Asphodel Fields, we take in the Asphodel Fields, Hecate, she runs that area, and the Asphodel Fields in Greek lore was just this silent, quiet wood that nobody who really did anything wrong or did not make anything of themselves, they go there. They're not tormented or tortured. It's a peaceful existence. And at the center of it is this citadel, or a fortress that is the fortress of all human reason. And it illuminates this light that radiates throughout the place, and it acts as a beacon. And here we have the library of human consciousness and the libraries of human reason. And we also have the nursery of hell, where souls of children can go to be reborn, or people who want to be reborn on Earth can go there, and they can be moved on to a new body on Earth and be reanimated. Yes, we can actually come back in our belief system. If you look in Dante's Inferno, Limbo is where the unbaptized children are cast into the woods to just do whatever. I mean, if people remember the game Dante's Inferno, these unbaptized children became an enemy, and they were tortured. They were, they had limbs of blades and everything, and it's like, oh, no. So, I mean, in Satanism, these unwanted, unbaptized children that the Christian God just tosses down there, well, Hecate and the other pagan goddesses of motherhood and nurturing and whatnot gather these lost children. There's also Fae and Fairy, because in our version, Tirnanog, the Celtic land of the Fae, exists there too. they gather up these lost children and they take them and they nurture them and mother them and again send them back onto earth if they're able, or give them peaceful rest. And so that's the main layers of hell for us. So Alex, yes, we do know where we're going, and if it's a loaded Christian question, that's, we have our own beliefs, just like any other religion out there has their beliefs. You have Christians with their versions of heaven and hell. The irony is they don't really have a very good description of what heaven looks like. It's this beautiful, radiant city in the sky. Okay. But yet they have a very clear definition of hell. Everybody likes the bad places, I guess. But, when we look into other places, other religions too, you have the Summerlands for Wicca and a lot of paganism. You have the Elysium Fields. You have the Asphodel Fields. You have plenty of different paradises that people supposedly will go to. So that's where I'm going to wrap it up here. If people want to ask me questions, shoot me questions down below. I'll get, once I get enough really good questions, I'll write them all down and everything. And I'll answer them. And I'll make them a lot quicker answers than I did tonight. Tonight I only had the one, so I could go with a much broader answer for Alex there. So Alex Jackson, here's my final answer for you. Yes, I do know where I am going in my final destination for my beliefs. My beliefs has a very good definition of that. And if you're interested in that, I will link down below links to my books and whatnot, and you can go buy the Satanic Testament yourself and read it yourself. And until next time, tell me what you guys think in the comments down below. If you have any questions that you want me to answer, ask them down below. And until next time, the routine: like, share, subscribe, yada yada yada. I'm Lucifer Leghorn, and I'm out of here.